It is Friday, October 24th. There are just a few more days left this month, my favorite month of the whole year. For those of you who do not know, Christmas is not a holiday. In my house, it's Halloween all year round. Always has been. And so, my gifts for Halloween this year came from my authors. Andrea Dean Van Scoyk said, I'm not releasing any more books after the Mercenary Files, and lo and behold, she sent me a book. The Sacredness of Every Day, How Celtic Christianity is Still Surviving in a World Lost in Modernization. It goes live on November the 3rd. Mary Brotherton's book, If I Could Be a Mermaid, goes live on November the 3rd. L.E. Ryan's book, Secrets, I am so proud of her. Y'all have no idea how proud I am of her. Goes live on October 27th. Who else goes live? Where's Wags by Rose Padrick, I can't talk this morning, goes live on October 27th. Bonnie Clark. Let's just talk about my friend Bonnie Clark for a minute. Her book is already live in all four formats, as is The Mercenary Files by Andrea. Bonnie Clark put together Errol's Journey. Errol's Journey is the diary of her husband Errol as he is first diagnosed with cancer. The misdiagnosis, the doctor scratching their heads while he is getting sicker and sicker. The advice from friends, friends that travels all over the country to be treated. The experimental treatments, the love, the faith, the belief in God's greater plan, the leaning on each other, the leaning on family, the understanding that life is fragile and we all have a termination date. The hope that he would overcome this, but with the understanding of the reality it might not happen. The final acceptance of the end of this journey on earth and the beginning of a new one. When Bonnie brought this request to me, I told her to go for it. And when she finally sent it to me, she basically said, I'm exhausted. And I'm sure she is, because having to revisit that journey years later opened up all the old wounds of loss and grief, of love, of watching someone you love deteriorate in front of you and feeling hopeless that you can't do anything to reverse the course, to understanding that God is in charge of everything in our lives, including our life and death, and that we all have an expiration date. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know Bonnie's book is absolutely going insane. I have not looked at where it sits on the new release yet, but I will. I will post that. To say that I am proud of Bonnie for putting her emotions out there and for being willing to share Errol's journey, and as she said, so someone else could find hope, understand love, understand God's plan, understand the frailty of life, understand that we must love those that love us, and that we must be willing to let them go when the time is right. Bonnie, I'm so proud of you. I cannot wait to see what you bring me next. She is so gracious and so unselfish and so willing to put herself out there. That takes courage. And it takes faith that God has a greater plan. So here's to you, Bonnie. I raise my coffee cup to you this early in the morning. Keep it going, sweetheart. Keep writing. Keep putting your dream out there. Yesterday, I did a late live. And I want to give Carol Bellavance a big shout out again today. She also had a story, and we sat on my front porch a week or so ago and talked about this, and she said, oh, I want to do this, but, and in my life, in this industry, in my world, in our world as writers of this family of Midnight Publishing, there's no buts. Because when you tack a but onto the end of a sentence, it's either a sign of self-failure, lack of belief in oneself, procrastination, and fear of rejection. I hear, I want to write, but, and I'm going, In my world, there's a saying by Yoda from the old Star Wars movie. It was a very outstanding scene, probably the best scene in the entire movie. Yoda and his apprentice are training, and Yoda had said something, and the apprentice says, I'm trying. I think Yoda's teaching him, Luke Skywalker, Yoda's teaching him how to fight, and Skywalker says, I'm trying, and Yoda says, do or do not. There is no try. I believe in that, because if you say, I'm trying, there's no commitment. If you say, I do not, that's a commitment. I respect that. I will accept it. If you say, I do, that means that you have committed to something that your heart desires, your mind wants, and you need to do it. You can do it. So when I'm talking to someone and they say, I want to write a story, but my first reaction is do or do not. There's no trying. There's no but. There's no, oh, we'll see. We'll see is no more of a commitment than I'm trying. It's sitting on a fence. My life, there's no fences. You're either doing or you're not. If you are, I'll take the journey with you. I will help you in any way that is humanly possible to help you, as long as you're willing to learn. As long as you're willing to trust the process. And Carol trusted the process. Yesterday we spent 4 hours together. And what Carol had done, because she did not know how to put a manuscript together, she had sent me all of her work in bits and pieces, like a puzzle. She got to see her work come together in a teaching moment, because I gave her the opportunity to put that book together with my wisdom. To say I am proud of Carol and to see the look of pure joy on her face is priceless. And when she finally sees that book in her hand, ladies and gentlemen, I don't care how many books you have out there. I have so many, too many to count. But every time I see a new book come together and I hold it in my hand, I can't put words to it. And this is what I told her yesterday. writing the book, putting it together, seeing it being thrown out there as promotions and up on the Amazon makes your heart swell. But to actually hold a book in your hand with your name at the bottom as the author, that never gets old. Never gets old. There's new excitement every day. So, Carol, thank you again for seeing the joy, the pure, unadulterated joy on your face yesterday. You cannot put a price tag on that. You cannot buy that. It will stay with me forever. It gave me reiteration that what I am doing here is worthwhile. Mary Brotherton, I challenged her. Mary and I have been around together for a long time. And we're sitting at lunch the other day. And we're discussing her works in progress. She had this one, and she had that one, and she had another one, and she wanted to do this one. And I said, Mary, I don't put pressure on my authors. However, because I know you, and because I understand you, and because I know where you want your journey to take you, I'm going to ask you to do this. Make a list of all the books that you have folders for, and a priority. Send me the children's books that are done, and let me do the graphics. Stop wasting your time, and I don't mean wasting as in wasting your time, but stop taking your time to do graphics when I have the programs. I can create the graphics. I can send them to you. Move on to something else. Because again, Mary is such a creative person that her mind never stops. And I could see it in her face and in her demeanor that she wanted so bad to get these books out there, but she was self-sabotaging herself because of the distractions, of the voices in her head, of the characters going, oh, me first, me first, me first. Let go. Trust the process. And she did. That woman has sent me 6 children's books. Sharks Bite, Writers Right, World's Best Grandfather, If I Could Be a Mermaid. Now let me find the other ones. Too Many Rules, which I'm working on now. If I Could Be a Butterfly, If I Could Be a Giant. And we just released on November the 3rd, If I Could Be a Mermaid. Mary, I am so proud of you, my friend. You have no idea how proud I am of you. I am seeing you grow in such a way that I don't even think you thought was possible. You and Carol gave me so much joy yesterday because knowledge is one thing, and ladies and gentlemen, I have a lot of knowledge. I don't know everything, but I know what I know, and what I don't know, I go find out. Knowledge is one thing, but if I don't share that knowledge, it's not wisdom. When we are little and growing up in a household with our parents, that's what our parents do. They share what they know with us because they have all this knowledge, and their knowledge has become wisdom because they share it with us. We don't always take it because we're young and stupid. As we grow older, that wisdom stays with us. I was talking to my oldest daughter, Brandy, the other day, and she said, my mother just came out of my mouth. Talking about me. As we grow older, that wisdom bubbles up like a little mini volcano. And we use that wisdom to live by, or to work by, or to teach others by. So the knowledge that I have learned in the 20 plus years that I have been doing this, actually it's more than that, because I started way back in 70 something, 1970 something, when my children were small, when I wrote my first book and started getting rejection letters. It was all done by hand on a typewriter, transcribed from handwritten manuscript. And I started getting rejection letters in 1970s. So I've actually been at this a lot longer than 20 years. However, I have been in the actual publishing business 20 years. I've learned. I started in this business when indie authors were criticized, put down, maligned, treated like they didn't even belong in the literary world. We didn't even have indie music artists. We didn't have indie artisan painters. Everything was so structured in the big world that indies were put aside. And that's where I started, along with Andrea and a few others. We didn't let that stop us. The world is now the up-and-coming author's oyster. And I want to help you all collect those oysters. So to all of my authors, Jason Wolfgang Gerhardt, you are phenomenal. The Ferryman, if you haven't ordered it, ladies and gentlemen, if you know somebody that loves paranormal, order that book. It is about a pair of detectives who hunt paranormal entities along with the help of the paranormal. Peggy Engler, Alta Desenord, they write spiritual inspirational for women. These are great gifts for the season coming up. Isaac Jones, Mary Brotherton, Carol Spear-Dwas, her book's coming out on the 27th. Delilah, the Flamingo and Her Christmas Tree, it's a little children's book. Rose Padrick. These are all my children's authors. And their books are delightful. They're on Kindle and they're in paperback. They're delightful. Isaac Jones's little book, Butler and Lester, is an interactive coloring book, storybook, and journaling book, teaching book. All of these little books, ladies and gentlemen, can be used in the school system and can be used in homeschooling. Then we have Andrea Dean Van Scloit, who writes not only spiritual inspiration for the Goth community with Welcome to Crowhaven Chapel, her Celtic Christianity, Every Day, The Sacredness of Every Day, which is coming out on the 27th. She writes Vampires, as in Fallen from Grace, Found in Shadow. She wrote The Mercenary Files, which is coming out on the 27th. The Sacredness of Every Day is coming out on the 3rd. She writes short story westerns. She wrote a cute little short story collection, Werewolves and Toxic something, I can't remember. This woman just keeps sending me stuff. Just pull her up. Who else do I have? Of course, Ellie Ryan and Secrets, which is coming out the 27th, which is the story of a young woman who goes to work for the police department, but she has a gift. And, of course, the detective she works for is their stenographer. Remember, this takes place in the 1970s. She works as their stenographer, and this gift is the ire of one of the detectives because he doesn't understand why she does some of the things she does, because she was taught not to discuss her gift because it scares people. This book is so well done. Who else do I have? So many people. Let's see. Let's just see who else I have. Where are my authors? Gwendolyn Law. I got word last night that Gwendolyn is doing a coloring book for domestic violence, and I hope she sends it to me. She wrote September's Chill. If you know someone, or if you are currently in a domestic violence relationship, this book is for you, because this is her story of her journey in not one but two domestic violence relationships. Not only did she survive, she is thriving. I highly recommend this book. You can get out. I am a survivor. You can get out. You can move forward with your life. I highly, highly recommend this book. Then I have Sherry Ann Richardson. Oh my stars. This woman has blossomed. She wrote The Chocolate Lover's Garden 25 years ago. It is a gardening book, a cookbook, a baker's book, and a history book. It is a coffee table book. It's a little pricey in hardcover. However, it is so worth the buying. If you know a child who likes to cook, loves history, loves gardening, hey, this book is for everyone. It is 4 books in one. She also has released Under the Dragon's Eye. No, it's not a fantasy book. It is not about dragons. It could be. This is a story of a young man who gets mixed up in the wrong company for all the right reasons. All this young man wants to do is be a professional bowler. However, he becomes a patsy for the mob. The story takes you on a journey of how this young man's life turns out. When people have read it, they want a sequel. So Sherry is working on a sequel, which will not come out until after the first of the year, because she's just going on this wonderful journey she's going on with these other 2 books. I'm so proud of you, Sherry. You have no idea how proud I am. Kim Carmichael, her little book, Trophy Doctor. It's a nice little romance. It's an easy read. She lives in California. If you love romance, you love happily ever after, pick up this little book. You know somebody that likes romance. Give it to them for the holiday season. Who else? Linda Humphrey, my other children's author, Cornfield Flyers of East Tennessee. That little book, Linda took children and asked them to write stories. And it is so cute. I mean, thoughtful, thought out stories that she put together in this little book. That's the 6th of my children's authors. Who else do I have? I think that is all. Oh, and then there's myself. If you haven't read Pink Canary, When Fates Collide, Arm Candy, When Fates Collide, Mardi Gras Bound, When Fates Collide, Murder in the Village, and Shady Rest, please do. The reason being is because the characters in the Pink Canary, Arm Candy, and Mardi Gras Bound show up in Murder in the Village. Now I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you will laugh. I am probably the most hated person in my village. And that is okay. In our world of writers, we write what we know. Art imitates life. And there are some people in my village that have made my life hell. Or tried to. So what do writers do when people cross them? We can't go to jail for murder because that's illegal. And the bodies are always found. And the crime is most of the time solved. So we kill them off in books. Or make them the villain in books. Because they really are villains in real life. So, I have now become the most hated person in this village by certain people. And they thought they were going to make my life even more hell. Enter Duct Tape, Tarp, and a Shovel. That book is in the process. It's a work in progress. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you, if you laughed in Murder in the Village, you will laugh even more in Duct Tape, Tarp, and a Shovel. Because Aunt Amanda Peacock Rochester shows up along with Andrew Jackson and Henry Wadsworth from Shady Rest. And Aunt Amanda is Greer O'Malley's aunt, and she is even snarkier, has more dry humor and more sarcasm than Greer ever thought about having. And Aunt Amanda has no filter. So when Lala shows up with her attitude and her accusations against Greer, Aunt Amanda, well, let me just give you a line from the book. Aunt Amanda looks at Lala, who says, what were you doing on Greer's porch? I haven't seen you here before. And Aunt Amanda says, apparently you're not from the South, are you? Because in the South, children are to be seen and not heard, except when asked a question. Children don't make themselves visible in an adult conversation. Are you being nosy or friendly? Lala says friendly. And Aunt Amanda says, well, your IQ will be immortalized in a children's shoe size. Then she turns to Greer and says, Greer, I never understood how stupid people worked. Shall we take her apart and see? That is just one line, one part, one paragraph in Duct Tape, Tarp, and a Shovel. I leave you with that. It is Friday. I have to go to work. Oh, wait, I don't work. I have a passion. I have to go do my passion. I have to finish Too Many Rules for Mary Brotherton. Because that one is coming out next. It is phenomenal. The graphics are not cartoons this time. They are realistic. So if you're looking for a home, if you have a story, if you have a book, and you come to me and say, I have a story, but, or I want to write, but, I'm going to tell you there are no buts in this part of my business. There's no room for buts. Sorry. Do or do not. There is no try. Until tomorrow, have the day you deserve.